Hello there, you're now with me, Hendy Gui, and welcome to your 5 p.m. English news on TVS. Let's dive into the headlines for today. Hospital admissions with COVID-19 into the intensive care unit in Sarawak is now the third lowest in Malaysia. Published by the Ministry of Health MOH on their Facebook account, only 34.3% admission were recorded on December 26. Sarawak's rate is lower than the national ICU admissions rate, which now stands at 55.9%.
Based on the infographic, Klang Valley ranked first on the list with 72.3% of ICU admissions, followed by Penang 67%, Kelantan 66.7%, Negeri Sembilan 61.8%, Malacca 60.9%, Johor 60.8%, and Terengganu with 57.4%. States that have reported lower ICU admissions than the national rate include Perak 53.8%, Sabah 49.1%, Kedah 45.2%, Pahang 43.2%, and Perlis with 26.3%. Labuan recorded the lowest with only 16.7% of ICU admissions due to the coronavirus.
The National Disaster Management Agency, or NADMA, has ordered the State Disaster Management Committee JPBN of Sarawak, Sabah and Johor to immediately activate their Disaster Operations Control Centre, or PKOB. NADMA, in a statement today, also asked the PKOB for Terengganu, Kelantan and Pahang to be prepared for possible floods as continuous rain is expected between this December 30th and January 1st, 2022.
According to the Malaysian Meteorological Department, Met Malaysia forecast, continuous rain is expected in the eastern part of Sabah from December 27 to January 2, western part of Sarawak from December 29 to 31, and in Johor, Pahang, Terengganu and Kelantan from December 30 to January 2. NADMA has also ordered the Hulu Langat District PKOB and the one in Bukit Changgang, Kuala Langat, to find out on the need to use pumps in areas where the floodwaters have not receded. At the same time, the state PKOB are also urged to coordinate assistance for the flood victims, especially the supply of perishable food to avoid wastage. Apart from that, NADMA also announced that the flood victims could still obtain food from the relief centers and stay there for a period of 3 days while waiting for the cleaning up of their homes to be completed.
Now, leptospirosis, or more commonly known as mud fever, is a disease that is caused by the urine of mammals such as rats, dogs and cats, to name a few. Due to the ongoing flash flood, the Ministry of Health MOH urged flood victims to practice standard hygiene, as the disease can spread when coming into contact or by consuming polluted water.
For prevention, MOH advised the people to avoid from wading through the flood waters. If there is any open wound on any parts of the body, it is necessary to cover it with a dressing or plaster while cleaning homes. The ministry also reminded the community to clear any waste that could potentially be a breeding ground for rats, and it is also equally important for people to manage food waste properly. Symptoms of those who are infected by leptospirosis includes fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, jaundice, stomach ache, red eyes, and dark-colored urine. Those who show signs of infection are advised to seek treatment immediately, as it would lead to complications such as bleeding in the lungs, heart failure, and kidney damage if left untreated.
Now, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, MOTAC, has agreed to extend the relaxation of regulatory requirements for tourism operators licensed under the Tourism Industry Act 1992 from January 1st to June 30th next year. Apart from the relaxation of requirements relating to the size of premises, the relaxation would also be given in the permission for tourism operators to carry out other businesses in their premises, as well as in the rental period for those operating from a co-share office space. A longhouse located in Sungai Liuk, Balingan was safe from being razed to the ground thanks to the efficiency and quick action of the villagers. The fire was fully extinguished and using 4 fire extinguishers before it spread to the rest of the longhouse.
A spokesperson said the Muka Fire and Rescue Department received a report on the incident at 7:38 p.m. and a team of firefighters from Muka Fire Station were deployed to the scene. Upon arrival, firefighters found that only a kitchen was affected by the flames and that the fire had already been doused off by the villagers. No casualties or injuries were reported, and total losses have yet to be ascertained.
Hello there and welcome back. Now on to some global affairs. Australia's most populated state has recorded the first death from the Omicron strain of the coronavirus. However, the authorities have refrained from imposing new restrictions, saying hospitalization rates remained low.
The victim was a man in his 80s who experienced a breakthrough case after contracting the new variant at an elderly care facility in Western Sydney. It is believed that the fully vaccinated man had an underlying health condition. Earlier this week, Australia has imposed heightened restrictions nationwide as the country experiences record-breaking daily infections. Meanwhile, on December 24th, the United States recorded its first Omicron death due to reinfection. The man, who was in his 50s and lived in Texas, was unvaccinated and had previously been infected with COVID-19. He recently contracted the virus again, and it was confirmed as the Omicron variant. On December 13th, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has confirmed that at least one person in the United Kingdom has died after contracting the Omicron variant, as officials warn that the new coronavirus strain is spreading at a phenomenal rate. As fears of another punishing wave grip the country, Britons in their hundreds have formed queues at vaccine centres to get booster shots, heeding government advice. Since the first Omicron cases were detected on November 27th in the UK, Johnson has imposed tougher restrictions.
Now, more than 30 people, including women and children, were killed and their bodies burned in Myanmar's conflict-torn Kaya state.
Photos and footage taken showed charred bodies on burnt-out truck beds, which Karenni Human Rights Group said were internally displaced people killed by junta soldiers near Moso village in Pruso town. According to the state media, the Myanmar military said it had shot and killed an unspecified number of terrorists with weapons from the opposition armed forces in the village. The people were in 7 vehicles and did not stop for the military. The military could not be immediately reached for comment.
Protesters opposed to military rule have reached the vicinity of the presidential palace in the capital of Khartoum for the second time in a week. Despite heavy tear gas and a communications blackout, Sudanese security forces had fired tear gas to disperse the crowds on the 10th day of major demonstrations since the October 25th coup.
Internet services were disrupted in the capital, Khartoum, and locals were unable to make or receive domestic calls on Saturday, December 25th, while soldiers and rapid support forces blocked roads leading to bridges linking Khartoum with Omdurman. Meanwhile, in neighboring Omdurman, security forces also fired tear gas at protesters around 2 kilometers away from a bridge connecting the city to central Khartoum. Protests have continued even after Abdallah Hamdok was reinstated as prime minister last month.
الشارع رافض يعني انت حتحكم منو يعني الشارع ما عايزك انت حتحكم منو كل عايزين يحكموا بالقوه بالغمع بالقوه لكن الشارع يعني بيموت حيموت والناس الشارع اخذ كلمته واخذ غرامه انه حيموت يا اما عيشه بعيسى ويا اما موت.
A week ago, demonstrators managed to begin a sit-in at the gates of the palace, but on Saturday they were met with rows of security forces. They have demanded that the military has no role in government during a transition to free elections.
المسانات الأمنية والاستعدادات وتكفيل الكباري والمعابر بالحاويات وبأرتال من الجنود وقوات المدججة بالأسلحة إلا إنه إرادة الشعب السوداني كانت قادرة على إنها تكسر الطوق الأمني والعسكري في محيط القصر الجمهوري وتنتزع حقها في التعبير عن الراية المعلن عبر لجان المقاومة في الوصول للقصر الجمهوري عنوة واقتدارا في هذا اليوم.
Now wrapping up the 5 p.m. news, Asian share markets fell and oil prices suffer as surging Omicron cases triggered tighter restrictions in Europe and threatened to drag on the global economy into the new year.
China reported its highest daily rise in local COVID-19 cases in 21 months over the weekend as infections more than doubled in the northwestern city of Shan, the country's latest COVID hotspot. Japan's Nikkei lost 0.20%, while South Korea's Kospi fell 0.11%. Mainland Chinese shares, though, were mixed, with Shanghai's benchmark sliding 0.37%, but an index of blue chips edged 0.05% higher. Australia, Hong Kong, and Britain are among markets closed Monday for holidays. In the foreign exchange markets, the US dollar continued to languish near the bottom of its range of the past month against a basket of major peers after hitting a 16-month high in November as Federal Reserve policymakers turned more hawkish. The dollar index was about flat at 96.116, towards the bottom of the range from 95.544 to the 16-month peak at 96.938 reached on November 24th.
And that wraps up the 5 p.m. English news on TVS. As usual, don't forget to tune in for the Nightline at 11:30 p.m. with Muhammad Yusuf. With that, I'm Handy Gui. Stay safe and have a pleasant day.
Jom bersama saya Khairul Nizam Naha mengembara dan meneroka keindahan alam di bumi Kenyalak.
Mengambil masa 1 jam 30 minit, depend dengan kita orang.